to see everyone. Just to avoid some technical difficulties, I'm going to have to just plug my phone in because we are using the phone. Okay. Let's hope I'm still in camera. All right, good. Well, welcome again, everybody. And it is great to be here with our special guest in a few moments, Dan Horowitz, our new executive director of the Dave and Mary Alpert JCC. And then I'll let him tell us if that's still the full name that we're using. So in honor of the new executive director from the Jewish Community Center in our part of town in South Dade, I thought I needed to make some sports related cocktail. So we are still, of course, in our pandemic mode, and you know my rules for, I hope you know my rules by now, when we are making cocktails during this time of trying to stay in more than going out. The trick is to substitute as needed so we don't run out and do extra shopping. So, and that is an extra reflective moment as we are entering the month of Elul, the month before the high holy days. So extra thinking on how to be careful, how to make the best use of our brain, our time, and what we do. So I have a drink that's supposed to taste like Gatorade. And I thank my research assistant for this drink, Sherry Lieberman, for today. So check this out. I have some of my L'chaim Friday night shot glass. I have a whole bunch of stuff. And slowly we will see if what I have here and the substitutions taste like anything anybody wants to sip at this happy hour on this Thursday evening. So we'll start easy. L'chaim, an ounce of vodka. Actually, I have a little bit less because there was so much alcohol in here, I would never be able to even sip it. So here we have vodka. Midori. Well, that would make like a really orangey, a really green kind of Gatorade, regular Gatorade, but I'm going to match it with my Zero Powerade. So I have this, instead of the Midori melon, I have this blue stuff, the blue curacao kind of nondescript fruit flavored alcohol. Got one of those. I don't have Midori in my house, but I had some of this stuff. I think we could just end right here because look at the color, but it has to taste Gatorade too. The next thing it calls for an ounce of I don't have that, but I have Grand Marnier, close enough. Let's see, so changing the color to a little bit blue-green. We have an ounce of orange juice. I don't have orange juice. I have pineapple juice. Let's see, which one is pineapple juice? This is the pineapple. Similar color. Let's give it a shot. As you see, this one I did more. Oh, this is supposed to be, I think, an ounce and a half. Changing color a little bit. Now, this is the ounce and a half of sweet and sour. Now, to make your own sweet and sour, you use lemon juice, lime juice, and sugar. I made my own fresh sweet and sour mix. Oh, and water goes in there too. Stir that. So I made a couple of substitutes here, as is the good rule when you are in a pandemic, not trying to leave the house. So if you are a Gatorade connoisseur, for whichever brands, this is a number of different Gatorade colors. And it's like a Gatorade flavor. Didn't say what flavor. So let's give this a taste. Actually, in the end of all this mixing, it really isn't bad. Maybe it's because I lessened that alcohol a little bit. I don't know, but that's pretty good. If you were about to play sports or in the middle of sports or after sports, and you were going to drink this, technically it has 1, 2, 3 ounces of alcohol and 2.5 ounces of something that isn't alcohol. It probably wouldn't be the best idea. But for happy hour now on Erev Tov, and to get a sort of color match for Gatorade, it is pretty darn good. That's our sports drink cocktail. So try that, everybody, or look up another one. I think that's a great idea. For our non-alcohol drink, we have Zero Sugar Powerade. I asked you to start your, my video was lost.
You're good.
I'm good? Okay. Powerade, just on ice. I will compare the, not so different. You know what? I'm glad I tasted the non-alcoholic Powerade next to this, because I'll tell you the truth, the tastes are not so very different. So, gee, you know, I remember when I was a kid, when I used to have to look up a spelling word during homework, my mother used to say, use a dictionary. And now when I try to ask my kids something, they say, Ema, that's what Google is for. And clearly that's what Google's for, to make this drink that tastes like Gatorade or Powerade. So give it, everybody. We have 2 nice drinks here, all about sports. Now, it's not really true that I've chosen these kinds of drinks because of the JCC, and because we're going to the new executive director of our J down here, who in the JCC has a lot to do with sports, but we know that, of course, the JCC is far more than sports. Although I spent a lot of time sitting on the sides of the tennis courts, sitting on the side of the swimming pool, waiting in the parking lot, sitting outside the dance studios. I think if I wouldn't want to do the hours of my sitting outside something that's sporty is happening, but I spent a lot of time sitting outside the activity, waiting for my kids. But I also spent a lot of time at watching activities, cultural events, or all other kinds of learning and wonderful things. Oh, and I also used to do Zumba at the J, and of course I worked out at the gym at the J, but there is so much more. So let's meet a new member of our Miami Jewish community, the new executive director of the David Mary Alpert JCC, Dan Horowitz. Come on in. Let's get our community to get to know you.
Pleasure. Good evening.
Good
or Erev Tov, as you might say.
Erev Tov, as we might say. So I am so glad that you are here with us this evening. Welcome to Miami. How do we say it? Bienvenido in Miami. I have to always say it just like Will Smith would say it.
Yeah, but, I mean, obviously.
Obviously, we're glad that you're here. And well, there's a couple of things. One, it gets to share something that's going on in the community. We get to learn something. And as importantly, we get to know the person. And so that's what we're going to take time to do. We want to get to know you a little bit, Dan, who you are, where you came from. So I'll shoot a bunch of questions at you, and you'll do your best to answer them. So when you read Dan's resume, there's a lot of really interesting things about it. He did sports management and law, and of course, a rabbinic smicha, a whole bunch of different things. And he hails from Detroit, and there are a lot of Miamians who are originally from Detroit, Dan. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know you moved here with your wife. I don't know her name. I don't know if you want to share that. You don't have to. 3 little children, 5, 3, and 1. We're excited to have them in our community. So go ahead, tell us where you're from, what your background is, and a little bit about the different things that you've done, because I know you have lots of degrees, and how you chose Miami, and we're very happy that you did.
For sure. So thank you again for having me. A pleasure to be here. What I can say is that throughout all of those academic pursuits, I acquired quite a bit of student debt. So my drink of choice throughout many of those years would have been the Powerade you have in front of you, but just throw the vodka right in the Powerade, and that would have been a mixed drink enough for me for many of those years. I grew up in the Metro Detroit area. My parents are Jewish communal professionals in their own right. My father's the publisher of the Detroit Jewish News, which is the Jewish newspaper in Metro Detroit. And my mother, for many years, both in a lay and a professional capacity, has been a fundraiser and been in service to many of the Jewish organizations in our community. I was raised at a Jewish day school, went to a large public high school. I went to Brandeis University for undergrad. Go Judges.
Go Judges.
Go Judges. That's a thing. And I think, as I shared with you when we first connected, it was a true privilege to be able to go to a place that felt a lot like Jewish summer camp for college. And then from there, had what many millennials do. I'm 36. And for most of my 20s, I was living in a different city every year, acquiring student debt or working or both, and just kind of figuring myself out, figuring the world out.
Wait a second, Dan, do you know my producer, Andrea? Sounds like that millennial story too.
Right. So
we just played major Jewish geography.
So we definitely just played before the show started and have no fewer than 50 mutual friends. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, so I lived in Charleston, South Carolina, Los Angeles, Ann Arbor, Chicago, Washington, D.C. And ultimately I did meet my wife, Miriam is her name, along the way. And we have 3 little ones that right now in the pandemic we've chosen to refer to as life choices numbers 1, 2, and 3 respectively, because Lord knows it's definitely challenging times in terms of what it is to try to work and adjust to a new community with little ones at home. But after many Michigan winters, ultimately it was the allure of palm trees that had Miami calling out to us. You know, it's a little tongue in cheek, but you know, you ask Northeastern Jews, my folks are originally from the Northeast. Miami's the original promised land. Forget about Israel. It's like Miami's where you really want to be. So, and I say that tongue in cheek, obviously I love Israel. My sister lives there, all of that fun stuff. But so when the opportunity presented to kind of put together not only the academic background, but the professional skills that I've been fortunate enough to cultivate the past number of years, and to be able to apply them in the construct of a legacy institution and a rooted, awesome community with strong synagogues, strong federation, a sense of commitment to Yiddishkeit and to diversity in a way that Miami was really exciting for me as someone who grew up in the Midwest, having lived all over and seen diversity, and sometimes felt that was lacking in the Metro Detroit area in our Jewish community. It's been a treat in that regard, and it's been special. And that's not to say that these are the times we expected when we accepted the opportunity in January and ultimately had to take an RV down in May with our 3 little ones in order to try to kind of traverse the 1,500 miles as safely as possible. But overall, we have found this place to be super welcoming. We have found cupcakes galore left at our door in ways that we could not have anticipated, but that my children are very thankful for. And we're doing as best as we possibly can to try to meet as many people as possible, to learn this place, and to figure out how we can weave ourselves into the fabric of the community. In terms of the J, this is a challenging time for the J, candidly. When your core 3 business units traditionally are fitness, nursery school, and summer camp, all 3 of those obviously have been significantly impacted by what's going on with COVID. Our nursery school is scheduled to reopen this coming Monday. So in a few days from now, our teachers have been there all week getting ready to welcome kiddos back. Our fitness center is open. Obviously, these are all at about 20 to 30% of where they were pre-COVID in terms of both like enforced mandatory limits on how many people and spacing and being very intentional about social distancing and following all of the protocols that we have to follow. But it's also provided an opportunity for a real holistic evaluation and to figure out where are we going to be in 5 years, 10 years? What are the things that we're really excited about doing that are simply fundamentally different than what the J here has ever done before? And a lot of that, I think, is where my skill set comes in, and that's leaning into dynamic, out-of-the-box Jewish content programming and community building in a very grassroots, person-to-person way. And I think those two areas in particular, we're really excited to lean into in partnership with the amazing institutions that we happen to have in the greater Miami area in order to do all we can to make this the best place in the country to be part of a Jewish family or to be a Jewish or Jewish adjacent person, and to help human beings flourish to the fullest extent possible, which is what our wisdom tradition is all about and the reason that it maintains relevance in the world. So
wow,
that's what I got for you.
That's a lot of stuff, man. That's a lot of stuff.
And mine is brown for what it's worth. Brown liquids for me now. That's
brown liquids. Okay. So you pull up at the J, and so we're down with nursery school, of course, and the fitness center and camp and all those places were so vibrant and now all heavily hit with the pandemic. What are you hoping to bring back first? And I mean, after the pandemic, how do you envision things looking, and what do you hope to bring back first? What's your vision? If you could like recreate or moving forward, how do you see something? I mean, things are going to be different. And what area are you going to look at and say, oh, this is the space that either physical or programmatically or in terms of the people who are working there, this is the part of the J that's going to get my attention. And this is where we're going to see, the community's going to see some real change. Do you have any ideas? What area is that going to be in?
For sure. So I think more than anything else, and again, it's going to be somewhat new within the community, is going to be in the dynamic Jewish experiences model. And I think some of that will be physically on our campus and some of it will be off our campus, either on the campuses of partner organizations or out more broadly into the community with great intention on getting out off of the campus and going to where the people are. So I can give you some examples of some of the stuff we're talking about in terms of our fall lineup that I'm really excited about. One of them I know that Beth is a partner on, which is amazing. So we're helping to put together what should be a really meaningful and dynamic, different kind of tashlich ceremony, which is the ceremony traditionally the afternoon of the first day of Rosh Hashanah, right? Exactly. We take breadcrumbs or pebbles, whatever, we throw it into a flowing body of water. It's an embodied ritual. It's an inherently inclusive ritual because all of us, whether or not we are Jewish or not, gay, queer, anywhere on any spectrum of color, anything, all as human beings, we are all striving to be the best versions of ourselves we can possibly be. So it's the most inclusive possible ritual. So trying to find a new take on it, I'm not going to give it away just yet, what it's going to be, but to be able to do that in partnership with community is very exciting. We've lined up a goat yoga company to come to the J the morning of Kol Nidre, the evening when Yom Kippur starts. So that's the Sunday morning. And we are going to do scapegoat yoga, where we are going to do an embodied yoga practice while learning about the ancient avodah service of the high priest putting the sins of the people onto a goat and sending it out to the wilderness.
So we're actually going to have real goats at the petting zoo, kind of real goats. Do they do yoga too?
Yeah, so, well, theoretically, they're more interested on jumping on your back, and I can't promise about where they're pooping, but they're definitely going to be in the pen, socially distanced with the people. Those kinds of things. We're going to be building a custom artist-driven sukkah tribute to the Wynwood Walls. We're working on a zoo scavenger hunt to share with all of the agencies in the community the week that we read the Torah portion of Noah so that people can go and have an awesome experience there, in addition to bringing a petting zoo for the nursery school open to the community. We're working on lining up a couple of parent ambassadors to go. It's interesting as a newbie here, and it's similar to Detroit. A lot of people talk about this divide of the highway, right? Of US 1 being this divide between the east side and the west side. I don't know the right gang signs for those, but there's east side and west side of the highway. But we're excited to help build community and connect with partners wherever the people may be in South Dade. So we're going to line up some parent ambassadors, hopefully, in order to help do some grassroots community building and reaching out to folks on both sides of the highway. We're working on a tasting donuts through the centuries program, where we're going to have people get a physical delivered box of all of these different kinds of donuts, in addition to a virtual conversation and learning session with a donut expert who's going to teach about the history of donuts that will align with Hanukkah when the time comes. So really excited to be able to lean into the kind of out of the box, dynamic Jewish experiential ed stuff that I think is something that the J here hasn't been leaning into in recent years. And that has everything that we're planning. We are both planning for a physical and a shift to virtual if needed. A couple of exceptions, obviously, like I can't have the baby goats jump on your back virtually. There's something about that physical experience, mind you. But in general, trying to bring an eye to that, and then really trying to bring intention to cultivating meaningful partnerships with the folks who are in this community and who have been doing the incredible work, in order so that we as the J and I personally can benefit from their wisdom, knowledge, and experience, and so that we can figure out how we can be a value add in this community without having it in any way, shape, or form feel like we're somehow stepping on toes or overreaching.
Cool. So those are a lot of cool Jewish programs. Now let's talk about sports. And the sports leagues and the programs, swimming and tennis and baseball. What's happening in those arenas for those of us who now, I think I told you my first child, we came here, she was 9 months old, and that August we were at Mommy and Me at the JCC, and my kids went really all the way through. They were doing programming at the J. So what's happening in those areas of sports that people traditionally have been involved in at the J? What's new? What are you working on, and what do you see happening?
Totally. So I would say tennis and aquatics are both punching above their weight right now. They're incredible. Our tennis, the last 2 months have been the best tennis months we've ever had. It's the most socially distant of sports, and people are leaning into it. But our current tennis instructor was stolen away a couple of years ago from the Ritz-Carlton in Key Biscayne. He is exceptional. He's a former professional himself, and he's really started to grow a beautiful program with a very firm learning, character building, skill building, intense approach. And so too, our aquatics director now, who's a coach, is unreal. He himself was a swimmer at a top 5 school at the University of Georgia as a competitive swimmer back in the day. He has worked locally within this capacity, and let's just say he runs a tight ship in a really wonderful way. So swim team has grown and the opportunities there. One of the new things we're excited about is in the aquatics area, we are now offering stand-up paddleboard yoga.
I saw that online. I thought that was totally cool.
It's super cool. It's for people who think that doing yoga on the floor is just not challenging enough for them. But it's also, easily adaptable like most yoga practices in order to make sure.
Have you tried it yet? Have you tried it?
I have not tried it yet. It's on my to-do list. Let's put it that way. It's on my to-do list. So, but I don't want to take spots because the spots are filling up super quick. So it's been really great, and we're excited to see that. Basketball right now is on hiatus because we're technically not allowed to run leagues yet based on the new normal handbook and where we are in phase 1. We have a wonderful partnership with Miami Select Volleyball that has a really incredible girls volleyball program that's housed out of the J, and that's doing some wonderful things. And then in the broader fitness center area, We still have physical training. Everything has been completely moved around, machines, cleaning crews, all of the HEPA filters, everything that you have to do in order to create as safe an environment as possible. There are group exercise classes that are happening on campus with folks spread out appropriately and that are simulcast live for those who don't feel comfortable coming back into a shared space yet and are hoping to do it from home. Many of whom, but not all, happen to be seniors who obviously the data shows are a little bit more at risk as it relates to COVID transmission and impact. So we're trying to find every way we possibly can to keep connecting with folks and cultivating community, whether they happen to be physically on campus or not.
So you came down in May and now it's August, so it's only a couple of months. When did you actually start working?
So I started on June 1st. And fortunately, I was probably putting in anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week in the 6 weeks leading up to that in terms of just being ready to onboard and hit the ground running.
And what did you find were the J's strengths when you got here?
The J strengths when I got here. First of all, this J is in an incredibly fortunate position to have very strong backing and relationships with the local federation, who are wonderful. And there are many communities where that is not necessarily the case. So what I found right away is our J is fortunate to be in strong partnership and real deep, holy relationship with our federation, such that there is regular, open, transparent communication back and forth and shared mutual desire for those in our community to flourish. So that was a huge win and something that not every J has. I found a staff team that cares an unbelievable amount about this place and this community. Many of whom have been with the agency for an extended period of time and have given of themselves and their lives. And I, candidly, as we know, for most of those who are working in the Jewish nonprofit sector, they ain't doing it to get rich. They're doing it because they have care and passion for community. And that was humbling and exciting to see walking in. And I would also say we're blessed with incredible lay leadership, both current and past. So I've already had the opportunity to have one-on-ones with almost every past president of the institution, in addition, obviously, to every board member and regular communication there, and seeing the time, effort, and energy that people are putting in to the J, but also other community organizations, including Beth and Federation and whatever it is, and Hillel, whatever it is, seeing the commitment to community broadly, and that it's not so siloed that everyone says, ugh, I'm involved with this place only. I could never be possibly involved with that place. I'm sure we all have those places, don't get me wrong. But in general, being able to say, like, yeah, my past presidents went on to be past president or be presidents of X, Y, and Z, and vice versa. And that there's this communal lay leadership construct that is a testament to this community and the people in it and how much they care. So I think those are kind of the big three things that I found in my 2.5 months on the job so far.
So you've been here only 2.5 months. You came to an organization that is really looking to build. It's been struggling a little bit, demography, and trying to get its core group back up running strong. And of course, now the pandemic, and you've come to a new city. How many times did you visit Miami before deciding to move here?
Yeah, I was here originally the first week of December as a finalist interviewing for the opportunity. And then when we found out, and that was the first time I'd ever been here. And then, so, a couple of like Skype interviews, Zoom interviews, those kinds of things before Zoom was as cool as it is now, in order to go through that process. And then, I was here at the beginning of December, and then we were fortunate enough to receive the invitation to come and take the position. And like any good husband, I said, I am flattered and very excited, and there's no way I get to make this decision without having my wife have a chance to come down with me in order to check it out and see if she can see us here and this opportunity. So we had already actually, when you live in Michigan, when it comes time for winter break around, Christmas, New Year time, the only place you want to go is Florida. You want to get out of Michigan. So we actually had already had a 1.5 week, 2-week vacation booked to the west side of the state for the end of the month. And then we ended up tacking on a handful of days to the end of that in order to be able to come to the Miami area, in order for my wife, and we had our kiddos with us too, to see the space, meet some of the people. There was a lovely brunch that was hosted with a whole bunch of young families representing a whole slew of different institutions in town. And that was enough to have us decide that we're gonna take a shot. And we came back in late February, right before the pandemic hit, in order to house hunt. And thankfully that magically all worked out, where we were able, despite the pandemic, to sell our home in Metro Detroit and purchase our home here and still close. And how we got a loan, I'm really not sure, given everything that's happening and the modest amount we had to put down, and all of those things. But yeah, so I was here twice and my wife was here once, and we said we're gonna move to Florida, as the Northeasterners say. So,
Well, I think it's a great choice. You'll see when winter comes around, and you'll look at the weather report, and you'll look at your friends, and you'll begin to think, how come they're not doing this too? And you'll never have to worry about that word snowsuit ever again. And you'll never have to put the car on and warm it up before you can put the kids in the car. So these are all going to be great things, as you'll see as it gets colder. But you haven't really had a chance to enjoy South Florida yet and enjoy Miami. So when things start to open up, have you and Miriam thought about, besides of course Disney, have you thought about where you want to go and what you want to do and what you want to see?
Honestly, at this point, just having dinner in a restaurant with a babysitter for the children who we trust and don't have to stress about would be a game changer, right? So I'm excited that my folks are in town visiting right now. They drove down from Detroit after testing negative in order to be with us for a couple of weeks, which has been a huge relief in terms of having an extra set of hands. I should note, we left Detroit, which is where we were most recently, and my parents are there. My brother, sister-in-law, and nephews are there, and I'd spent the past 6 years building grassroots community there. So we left an incredible village during this time too, which has made it that much more challenging. So having my folks here is amazing. And my plan is to sneak my wife away this weekend, if at all possible, for 2 nights, just us, without our little ones around. And of course, what you failed to mention in your pitch about the glory of winter is that our 2 nights away may be ruined by some sort of hurricane formation.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say, no, I wouldn't leave your parents yet until you have a couple of things in place at home. Maybe
So we
just get a couple of things ready, just in case.
So we had that test run a couple weeks ago, thankfully. So we have a lot of the things that we need ready to go. But
diapers, those things go. Those things fast. You have a little ones. Yeah. So right. You do that balance of no winter, but you have to think ahead when you shop. So, but you'll get there. You'll get there. So right, there's a lot of fun things. So what do you guys like to do for fun? Because we heard about your plans. You're going to do Jewish stuff. You're going to lean in Jewishly at the JCC. And now what do you two like to do for fun?
Totally. So I would say we are music people and we are dancing people. So the reason that I love going to spin class or jumping on a Peloton or whatever it is because now that I'm a grown-up, I'm not supposed to listen to anything other than NPR or the 538 Politics podcast while I'm driving anywhere. And I don't get to dance to top 40 anymore. So being able to go on a spin bike somewhere where it's dark, I have comparative anonymity, and just kind of jam out on a spin bike, it's one of my favorite things. I happen to myself be a musician. I'm a classically trained violinist. And then I set a goal that every year of my 30s, I was going to pick up and learn a different instrument and be able to passively at least have a jam sesh on it. And I think 4 out of the 6 years, I'm doing okay on that so far. And then my wife is a sign language interpreter, and in her past life was an equity actress doing musical theater and touring the globe. So anytime we're taking in high quality theater, high quality music, especially if it's, we have our favorite Shabbat dinner party music in the background is like old school Louis and Ella and that kind of stuff. And I think we both kind of wish that there was, it's a nostalgia lens, obviously, but like wish we had had the we're going to the dinner party that has a big band and ballroom dancing on the floor, because that's a thing. And it's just not a thing anymore in so many ways. But that's the kind of stuff that moves us and gets us excited.
Okay, so we'll find you some music. There's some great music in Calle Ocho. There is some karaoke places. Andrew will hook you up with that. And of course, when things get back to normal, we have maybe Miriam will like to participate in our productions at the temple. Always looking for new.
Stand by.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.